Ladies and gentlemen, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck? It's Jason Van Jason. We're at episode number 10, I believe. I think this is 10. If it is, great. If it's not, I guess I don't really fucking care enough to get it right, so why the fuck do you care? Anyways, before we get into the shit, before we get into the stuff, let's begin with the particulars. You can find me on Twitter at Jason Van Jason. You can find my blog as well as products to purchase at my Amazon Author Central page, which is under Jason Van Jason. You can get there by Google. You can go to the link in the description below to get to my Amazon Author Central page, where there will be an additional link to my blog. You can click on updates or whatever the fuck it is there. I'm not even sure. But everything you need is there. If you end up Googling my name, you may find a multitude of individuals with the name Jason Van that are not me. And you need to message every single one of those people who come up in the search that you're looking for me with. And you got to tell those folk that... I don't know what you need to tell those folk, but you need to express to those folk that they're fucking no good, that we know they suck dick, even if they're trying to hide it. We know they're fucking homos. We know they're fucking faggots. We know that they're bitch faggots. We know. And Jason just wants them to know that he knows, that he's on the level with whatever they got going on. Whatever gay shit they got going on, I'm on the level. I know about it. I'm watching. I got eyes and ears everywhere, alright? I'm watching you fucking faggots. And, per usual, the sensitive ears, if you're prone to sensitivity, maybe this place isn't for you. You fucking bitch, cunt, nigger, faggot. I love it. I wonder what other words we could take back other than bitch and faggot. Let's not get too ambitious. Let's just cover some ground first, right? Right. Anyways, so the last episode was number 9, and I believe I talked about questions and intent. And I was thinking more about answers this time around, and I don't think it's gonna be like a full piece on answers, but the thing about asking a question is that we're always going to get an answer. And a lot of the time, it's not the answer we're looking for. The answer we're looking for is usually a couple of questions away from the question that we're actually asking. Most of the time, we're asking a question to simply reply to the answer with another question. And to some extent, there's many questions that don't really need to be asked, especially today. And I want you to consider this, a little tidbit of information. When the police want to know what's happened at a crime scene of any kind, they don't just listen, they watch. And even though they're looking at the crime scene, they're looking at events that have already unfolded, they're still watching. They're still observing what took place. Not what is taking place and not what is going to take place, but what has already taken place. And the reason they do that is because watching and looking and observing is the best way to get an answer. When we ask a question, we don't know if we're being given the right answer. But when we watch, we can see the answer in front of our eyes and it becomes undeniable. That's why evidence, that's why crime scene investigation is so huge in terms of solving a crime and in terms of maybe not actually solving a crime, but understanding what took place. It's huge. And even though that, like I said, it's already taken place, it doesn't make the point any less valid that watching is important. And so all too often when we want an answer, we do more asking and questioning than just simply watching. When we want to know something about somebody, often we're asking questions, when in reality we should just be watching. What are we watching for? The answer. And the answer usually comes when we watch. I'd say a large amount of the time when you want to figure something out and all you have to do is watch, but you can't take the time to watch, you're probably not going to get the answer that you're looking for. Especially when you ask a question that Especially when you ask a question that you know the person could lie to you about. They might lie to you through the question, but they can't lie with their actions. They can't lie with their intent. And I'm not going to focus on this a whole bunch. I'm going to really drive that point home. If you ever want an answer, do not just ask the question, but watch. Use your eyes. Watch. Because that will always be more truthful than whatever somebody has to say is their actions. Makes sense, doesn't it? I think it does. Then again, maybe I'm a fucking idiot, I don't know. But I'd like to think I don't know. At bare minimum, I'm not a fucking idiot. But I guess that's what the whole world wants to think, right? The whole world wants to think that the whole world ain't a fucking bare minimum idiot, but to be honest, most of us fucking are. That's the LRT, by the way. One of the other things I wanted to cover from episode number 9 was I had briefly mentioned women with kids, and I did mention that I would speak on why it's a bad idea to date women with kids, but I never elaborated because, well, it's because I'm not a bare minimum idiot. That's why. So I'm going to elaborate on that, and I'm going to elaborate on love a little bit. More for men. This, and any advice for men, we say like, oh, this is for men and this is for women, but it's applicable across the board. Advice for men is just as good as advice for women, and advice for women is just as good as advice for men, if not better. You know what I mean? Why do we have applicable sex advice? We really don't. We just believe that we do. And so I don't want to put up this precursor of, oh, this is for men, or, oh, this is for women. I'm just saying I'm going to talk about men. And because I'm talking about men, that's still applicable to women, because women still deal with men, and men still deal with men. And even if this was for women, men still deal with women, so it's still applicable to them. And you know what I mean? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Fuck off! It's a fucking train. Oh, Lord. This is gonna be loud and long. Just the way you bitches like it. No, I'm just fucking around with you. Should we wait for this to go? No. I'm gonna put this shit on pause quick. I'm gonna wait for the train to go by. Just 1 minute. Well, this train is still fucking here. Unbelievable. I'm glad I'm not like driving and sitting there watching this fucking train go by, because holy fuck, I would lose my shit. Anyways, I don't know. as a side note, before I get back to the whole advice on men and women and whatever the fuck, why the fuck couldn't they have these trains go underground? You know what they have in Calgary, which is a city 2 hours away from Edmonton? They have trains that go underground. So vehicles don't have to wait around. So we don't have to fucking hear them as much. Here, it's like, oh no, you can just wait. You can just wait for the train. Yeah, it's okay. They'll just fucking wait. And it's like, those... how is that... Oh, here's the word. How is that fair? That's not fair. Why do they have trains underground and we don't? Oh my god. Guys, that's not fair. We need to protest. The train should be underground. When you think about the amount of minutes lost to the fucking train, it's not bad in like the general, oh, it took 14 minutes. But when we think, okay, there's 20 people waiting for the train, that's a grand total of over, 200 minutes that has just been wasted to the train? The train's a minute taker. You're taking minutes, train. Fuck off with your fucking minute taking bullshit, train. We don't want it here. And yet the train persists to be here. And it's like, fuck you, bitch. Not only are you taking the road taker's time, not only are you taking the driver's time, the road takers, holy fuck. Not only am I taking the driver's time, I'm taking the guy trying to do his own radio show time. Oh, and there's even a what the fuck, a cart, I guess? Would be a section of the train. There's a section of the train that's completely filled with like garbage or something. It looks like plastic. Car, I guess, the train's car, I guess, would be the, This train has just stolen the show, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. That's how an inanimate object, defeats me doing a radio show. I don't know, that thing does literally not even have a fucking brain, and yet it has stolen the show. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's it, folks. Good luck. Okay, no, but seriously, as a man, the reason you don't want to date a woman with kids is not the kids. It's the woman. Let me say that again for the women listening who are like, what the fuck, I have kids. Shut the fuck up. The reason you don't date a woman who has kids is not because of the kids. It's because of the woman. And the fact of the matter is that if the woman wanted to be with someone, don't you think that person would be the father of the kids? And so immediately we have to begin asking questions outside of the woman. We have to begin asking, well, why aren't you with the guy that you have, 2 kids with? And God forbid she's got 2 kids with 2 different dudes, because that's I don't want to say that's some hoe shit, because it's not. People think they find love and then they find out they don't, but when you didn't learn the first time, I don't know. When you didn't learn the first time, there's not much to learn. And you understand that person is not, that there's an agenda there, clearly. And who knows what that agenda is. Maybe that agenda is to just have kids, and that person didn't want to have kids, so they went to the next person, and, that person didn't want to have kids either, and so now they're single with 2 different kids from 2 different dads. I don't know, how that situation works out, how that situation plays out, I don't know. And it's easy to judge, right? But back on topic here, the baby daddies are always going to have just as much, or even maybe more, sway over the woman than we do. Than the boyfriend does, right? And that's an unnatural thing to an extent. At no point before have we had another man have say in our relationships the way the dad to a kid does, right? And because of that, it's weird. Because of that, it's like we feel like there's no boundary on where that dad can go. And often, I'm gonna tell you this right now, often the bedroom isn't off limits. And that's a fucked up thing again. You know, we're talking about a cheater now, but it's the dad. You know what I mean? And so there's some little small part of you that goes, you know, I want to just say fuck this bitch, but, you know, I can't really blame her for fucking with the dad. And there's always a longing for that family unit, but there's times when we feel like we're the reason why that family isn't existing, you know, the boyfriend. And then she leaves you or you leave her and she's not with the baby daddy again. She's with another guy. And it's like, okay, well, I left you so you could go start a family or go continue your family or go, you know, the family dynamic, whatever you wanted to explore. And obviously that wasn't the right thing, so... But that's always going to continue to be on the table. It's almost like the second the dad knows that he can't have the person who he's had kids with, suddenly their interest is renewed again, right? Until the second they realize, oh, wait, this is totally obtainable for me. Okay, I don't want this. So they fuck or whatever, and then that's the end of it. And I don't have kids, but that doesn't mean I can't comment on the scenario. And that's the other thing. This idea that if I'm not involved, then I can't comment. Well, guess what? I'm not involved and I'm commenting, and if you don't like it, fuck you. Because you know what? I'm a fucking shit disturber, and that's what I do. If you don't like your shit being disturbed, then don't fucking air it out for the whole fucking block to see, you fucking silly cunt. But for real, though, it leaves us in a weird position because we don't know if we can trust that woman. I wouldn't. If I had kids with some chick and now we're not dating, you know what my priority is? Is making it work with the kid's mom. And so even before that, you have to ask, why isn't that a priority for this woman? And furthermore, if I have kids with her, is that going to be a priority for her? Do you know what I mean? If I have more kids with her, sorry. Why? How am I going to be a bigger priority than that guy? And so usually the breakup comes because the guy doesn't want to work or can't provide. And so now we're not really talking about a relationship. We're talking about an individual being a provider. And to me, that's not a relationship. To me, that's you being a provider. It's a completely different thing. You know, she might... And maybe being that provider means she gives herself to you in a way she doesn't give to somebody else. I view that as a relationship, yeah. But there's also that element of the provider and of the simple fact that a woman can find a provider in just about any man to a certain extent, depending on what he's providing. If he's providing a giant dick and has no money and no nothing, then he might be a piece of shit loner person who doesn't provide for his or her kids, but they got that they got that sex attachment. They got that they're providing good sex, and I don't know if we can put a price on good sex. Some dudes can't. Some dudes just get rich and the only reason they want to be rich is so that they can get good sex. And I can't knock them. I really can't. Good sex is hard to put a price on. You know, when you talk about the search and the exhausting, tiresome routine of looking for someone who is good at sex, or good with sex, or good in sex, or whatever the fuck however you want to put it. When you're looking for that, you got to go through a bunch of people who are usually not. And often we're just leaving that up to one time. That's the other thing, is that we're looking for someone who's good the first time. We have to understand that nobody is going to be great the first time for us. That's something that has to be developed over time. And I mean, there's a general baseline for what everyone likes. Like, we don't need to get into the particulars of that. We're all fucking human beings. We all know we like to have fucking orgasms. Don't fuck with it. Just move on. Yeah, and so the reason it's not a good idea to date these women that have kids with some other dude and they're not with that guy is because there's always a reason why they're not with that guy, and more than likely that guy is going to try to fix that problem to an extent. He's going to try to make himself be more appetizing, and that is a problem for us because we're not the dads of those kids. And so there is an unsaid priority given to I don't know the extent of said priority, but I know that priority exists being given to the dad. And so, for example, when I was online dating, I was doing my social experiment through online dating. One of the things that I really noticed was that a lot of these women already had kids. And there was no good or bad. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was no in between of the good and bad parent. The guy, the dad that they weren't seeing anymore was either a really good guy or a piece of shit. Either a really good father or a piece of shit. And what I really boiled that down to after talking to so many people was that the extent to which this person was a good dad had to do with what they were doing for the woman, not the children. If he was doing a lot for the woman, then the woman would feel empowered to do a lot for the child, and then she would say, oh, well, he's a good dad because he empowers me to do well. Right? And so there's this connotation that the guy is not really providing for the children as much as he is providing a mom, and then the mom is acting as a vessel through what the man has provided to give to her kids and say, oh yeah, he's a good dad. When really he doesn't do anything, but he empowers her to do things, right? And I'm not saying that's not okay. That's perfect. But in that empowerment, we find a strange scenario where there's a priority being given to this person. And we want to know exactly what that priority is. And we can't establish that priority by just asking questions. There's no fucking way. There is no fucking way that we can establish that priority just through asking questions. There has to be watching involved. You have to watch the way those two interact at all times. Because there's a potential there. Anytime we have priority, the reason we're giving something priority is because there's potential there for something to happen, right? And what that priority is, or what that potential is, I don't know. But the fact remains, we're giving that priority for the sake of potential to exist. And we can't look at that scenario and say that, you know, this person is being given priority for no fucking reason at all. That doesn't make sense. If I was giving priority to anyone at all, why wouldn't I give priority to the guy walking across the bridge right now that I'm staring at? Why wouldn't I give priority to the random person I meet that I lock eyes with in the grocery store? Why wouldn't I give priority to anyone? You give priority because there's potential. And so when you see priority being given to someone other than yourself, it's because of potential. And that potential is why we can't fuck with these women. When there's a potential for something to happen, when there's priority being given, shit is going on. And it may not be shit that we can't trust, but it's shit all the same. And so many of the women I talk to, what I did was I, first of all, focused on women who said that the dad was a piece of shit. And out of those women, the majority said, you know, obviously they were pieces of shit and stuff, but the majority of them had no contact at all with the dad. None. Not even a little bit. And that put me in a position where I was like, okay, I feel comfortable with this person doing this and that, and and kind of trusting this person more than I would trust somebody who was giving priority. Sorry, I'm taking a piss right now. Actually, I'm taking a piss in the parking lot. This could be a potentially very bad idea. Breaking the law. Anyways, so so we give our attention to those who don't have a priority outside of us, right? At least that's the focus of the study and that capacity of the study. And so as I moved on, I began to look for women who had given priority to these men, who would say, yeah, he's a good dad. And you should have seen, I wish I would have recorded the body language change. Sorry, I got to do up my belt and shit all that. Yeah, I'm retarded. It literally takes me that long to do my button in on my jeans and do up my zipper. Sorry, guys, I'm totally retarded. Anyways, yeah, so I began watching the body language of these women who said, oh, he's a really good dad, he does this and that, but we're not together anymore. So I wish I would have captured their body language change when I asked them straight up, when was the last time you guys had sex? And every single time that I asked that question, they lied. Every single fucking time. Every single time. When they're saying he's a good dad, that means we're fucking. That's what that means. And regardless if you're involved or not, we're fucking. That's what that means. And it's hilarious because it's okay to say that you're a good dad. That's okay. It's okay to tell someone that, but just the body language change was just outrageous. It was so evident that every single woman I asked that when they said, yo, yeah, he's a good dad. I said, okay, when was the last time you guys had sex? Most of the time, it was months ago. They'd be touching their faces and their eyes would be blinking. And the one said, that's none of your business. I was just like, okay, so like recently? And it's true, though. When they have a working relationship with that person, you really need to ask, okay, why didn't it work out between you two? Okay, and they're gonna give some fucking reason. I don't know why. You know, I can't give you a reason why, but what I can say is that if it's working out good as friends, why can't it work out good between you as lovers, as being in a relationship or being married or whatever? And if it's not going to work with that person, and if they're not willing to make it work with the father of their own children, what fucking chance do we got? You know what I mean? Like, really? You gotta really think about that. What fucking chance do you have when she's not even willing to make it work with that guy? And you gotta ask, why didn't it work? And if it's because simply the guy wasn't a provider, that's understandable. But we gotta understand that that guy at some point was providing something that she liked, and that's why she was with him, and so we have to figure out what that was. And a lot of the time it was the sex. And a lot of the time they're going to go back to that because they enjoyed the sex. No other reason. They know the guy's a shit provider, but they're going to go back anyways. And so I'm not saying all women are going to go back. I'm not saying any women are going to go back. I'm just saying, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you try to make it work with the person that you've had 2-3 kids with? Why wouldn't you? And yes, that's a legitimate question that you need to be asking, and you need to be watching out for the answer. And it's not a thing of trust. Women, well, you don't trust me. Fuck no, I don't trust you. What the fuck? I don't trust you. Not only do I not trust you, I completely understand where you would come from if you just fucked off with the dad of your children. I would understand. I would get it. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't blame you for doing so. So the fact that I'm asking, yeah, fuck yeah, I don't trust you, and rightfully so, I don't trust you. Of course I don't trust you. That's the father of your children we're talking about. That's a big fucking deal. And if you don't think that's a big deal, then what am I doing fucking with you? What am I doing thinking that I'm going to have kids with you? The fuck am I thinking? So yeah, I don't trust you. And to an extent, we almost have to speak up for the dad that isn't there to defend themselves. We almost have to say, well, what did he do wrong? And how can I avoid doing those things? Well, why originally were you with him in the first place? What was he providing outside of being an actual provider that you liked? I have every right to ask that question. And if you don't think so, that's fine. But understand, if you can't answer that question, and if I can't watch for the answer to that question, if I can't do those things, then you can't expect me to trust you. Trust is a big thing. And trust is hard to build in 2017 today. Trust is hard to build. A lot of people just don't give their trust, and those people usually do fairly well for themselves. People who don't trust anybody usually are better off. And that's because trust is widely abused today. We want trust for no other reason than to abuse it. Why do you need my trust? Why do I need your trust? To abuse it. I don't need to trust anyone. But if I am going to trust someone, that trust, it needs to somehow make their life easier. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, just off the top of my fucking head, just a bullshit example. I'm borrowing money from you every week. And so rather than driving all the way to your house every week, maybe I should have like a debit card or something. That, I should have like a debit card or something so that I can withdraw money and then deposit money so that I don't have to drive to your house. If you trusted me with that debit card, that would make my life easier. But I also have to understand that you're trusting me with a big thing. You're trusting me with money. That's the biggest thing of all. And if you're going to give that trust without collateral, without any collateral at all from me, and you're just going to give that trust, we almost have to wonder why, to an extent. Why do you want to make my life easier like that? Oh, because we're friends, because we're this, because we're that. Okay. But we have to understand that that trust, it's weird. Trust is a weird thing. It's difficult to describe because trust is mostly an emotional thing, right? Trust is like logically, for you to give me a debit card that I could potentially royally fuck you over with is completely ridiculous. And I would, honestly, I would never expect anyone to ever fucking do that ever. And I wouldn't do that for anyone. Are you fucking kidding me? I wouldn't do that for anyone. I wouldn't do that for my own family. Motherfuck that. But, the fact that you're willing to trust me that much, that's crazy. You know, that's someone that anyone would be willing to trust me that much. And not just me as I'm saying me, but anyone. Trust anyone, even in their immediate family with that. That's crazy. To me, that's crazy. And trust is more of an emotional thing than it is logical. Logically, the world we live in, we shouldn't trust anyone. That's the fucking truth. Logically, we don't have anyone to trust. But emotionally, we want to give out our trust. Emotionally, we want to have people we can trust. And logically, we do as well, but more emotionally. Because logically, we begin talking about protection and trust. And then the trust that we give out becomes significantly hampered by the protection that we protect ourselves with. But when we talk about emotional trust, we talk about opening ourselves up to being hurt. Maybe financially, maybe emotionally, maybe both. And I talk about financial trust because that's a big one. Most people cannot be financially trusted. That's just the bottom line. But the few that can, even the few that can, there's a point of diminishing returns where they're gonna think that the trust goes a longer way than it actually does, and they're gonna abuse your trust at some point, and you're gonna be hurt because of it. And you know, there always needs to be clear communication with trust, But getting back to the emotional side of trust, it's strange how we want to have our emotions tangled up in our trust. And I'm not too sure where I'm going with this. I don't think it needs to go anywhere, though. I think this is kind of the end of the talk of trust, is that we have to understand that there's emotional trust and there's logical trust, and those two things can look very differently. And so we have to, especially as men dating women with children, we have to ask, is that emotional trust that she has for her father, or is for her father, for her baby's daddy, or is that logical trust? Because logical trust realistically only goes so far. Logical trust does not extend into emotional trust, and if it did, it would be illogical trust, right? And illogical has a lot to do with the emotional side of things. If what she's doing suddenly makes no sense logically, it's because she's acting out of emotion. And women do that a lot. Women are very guilty of acting out of emotion. Most women I know cannot get a handle on their emotions in terms of trust. Most women I know are either way too trusting or not trusting enough. There's no woman I've ever met who has had the perfect amount of trust. And I think that's a good thing. I think to an extent, I think that's a good thing. I think all contexts deserve its certain scrutiny of how much trust can be applied to the situation, but with the baby daddy, that becomes such a weird thing. How much trust is being given to that person? Logically, if you're not with them, but you trust them enough to leave your kids with them, I don't know. Because you don't just leave your kids with anyone. And we're trusting that that person is going to be responsible enough to handle that. And we're trusting that if the person isn't, they're going to call us and let us know that they're not. But yet, they're not trusting enough with their own emotions to be in a relationship with them. To me, that doesn't make any sense. And to me, I don't want to be involved in that. And to me, if your trust of that person makes no sense, it's because it's emotional trust and not logical trust. And logically, if you can't trust that man with your kids, I understand. I get that. I completely get that. But if you emotionally can't trust that person, I need to know why. Because emotionally trusting someone is one thing. When you're emotionally untrusting of everyone, that's another thing entirely, because that's logically not being able to trust anyone. And if you can't, if you're emotionally untrusting of him, then obviously you're eventually going to become emotionally untrusting of me. And that person needs to manage that emotion behind the untrust, behind the distrust of that person. And if, like I said, the relationship didn't work out between you and your baby's daddy, I need to know why. I want to know why. That's number one. I want to know why. I don't want a damn good reason. Like, as a human being, I want a damn good reason why you're not together with your husband, or not with your husband, with the children of your kids. The children of your kids. Holy fuck, man. The father of your kids. You better have a damn good reason. And if your reason is, well, he farted and it smelled funny, so I left. We're not gonna be anything serious. And likewise, if your response is, well, he's a really good dad, it just didn't work out, that's also kind of a fucked up thing, because as I already said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm firmly convinced anyone who is away from that parent in a relationship state, but is still saying, well, they're a good dad and this and that, there's still potential for something to happen, and potential is a big thing, and I'm not saying that every single person can't be trusted. I just closed my fucking door like that with my legs. I'm a fucking baller. Anyways, you can't just look at that type of situation at face value. There is so much going on there. And what kills me the most is that these women want to tell us that, oh no, it's not like that. There's not a bunch of factors going on. Oh no, it's not like that. Yes, it fucking is. And if it's not like that, why isn't it? And the person will say, well, that's none of your business. That's between me and my kids. Great, fuck off then. None of my business. Okay, beat it. It's none of my business. The fuck are you talking about? We're talking about 2 human lives here, 3 human lives here. None of my business. If it's none of my business, then go find someone else to help you raise your kids with. What the fuck? And she's going to say, well, I don't need any help to raise my kids. Then what the fuck is the dad doing in the picture? Oh, I see how it is. I don't need any help to raise my kids. Oh, then what is the dad doing in the picture? No answer. None. Because it's bullshit. Any woman who doesn't need help raising kids, and quit collecting off the government then see if you need help. These women that think they're fucking independent, getting government money is just fucking, it is so irritating. Like, look, and it's not irritating for me. I'm irritated on behalf of the women out there that actually do that shit without government funding, without any help from anyone, and they just get that shit done. those women need to have statues built of them because they are fucking walking gods among peasants. And I'm saying that to be fucking true. And any woman who takes from the fucking government and or takes from any hand at all and says, I'm independent, you're doing that person who actually is independent a great disservice. And you need to shut your fucking mouth and say, I'm the money-grubbing whore that I am. And you need to embrace that title, because that's what the fuck you are. And I might be a piece of shit for saying it, but I ain't no money-grubbing whore. Not yet. I would be I shouldn't even make a big deal of that, because I totally would be a money-grubbing whore if I had the opportunity to be. That's the thing. Men, we don't have opportunities to be money-grubbing whores. It's probably a good thing, because every single one of us would be. If you took the mentality of a man with the parts of a woman and put those two together, in my mind, you have the modern woman. You have the woman who is just down for anything. Who is so confident that she'll get through anything, that she's just willing to be down for anything. And then we have these men who are who have the complacency of a woman from the 1950s, and the obviously we're men of today, and it's like, oh my god, like, dealing with some men today is very frustrating. I'll tell you that right now. As a man, dealing with certain men is very frustrating. Dealing with most men as a man is actually quite frustrating, to be honest. And not because of the... Holy fuck, we're at 46 minutes. What the fuck? And not because of the nature of being a man or anything like that. Dealing with a man as a man is hard because we know that this shit is a free-for-all out here. We know that these women are really only as loyal as their last fucking meal. And that's really the truth. We know that every single one of us are providers. And we know that being that provider is the number one reason our women are with us. And we know that if there's a better provider, logically that our woman is going to want to look at that provider and at least have a look on what's going on there. And at least see if that person is even remotely compatible with them. And even if they're less compatible than we are together, the fact remains that that person's a better provider than us, and that scares us, and that makes us insecure. That's why women need... That's why men, us as men, we can't date women with kids. Because men today are insecure. And we don't want to say that, but it's true. The real reason, and I was kind of working my way back to this slowly, but the real reason us men can't date women with kids is because us men today, we're insecure, and we're going to blame that insecurity on the woman. You see how I've been questioning the woman's relationship the entire time with the father of her kids? I've been questioning that. When really, I have no ground to question that. Even though I've said I have ground to question that, I really haven't had any logical ground to question that. And if I did, it would only be on the illogical ground of insecurity. I am an insecure man myself. I am. And I recognize that. And I also know that as an insecure man, one of the things I'm going to be very insecure about is another man with priority in my relationship that's not me. Do you see how that works? Any priority at all. If you're not some swinging dick walking across the street, or you are, and you have priority in my relationship, that's a problem. For me. For a secure person, it wouldn't be an issue. Instead of going, well, why are you giving that person priority? You'd say, whatever. But for the insecure person, these things mean a lot more than what we make them out to be. And trust is only defined by the amount that we're insecure. we can only trust as much as we're secure. And the second we get to insecurity, there is no trust. There can't be trust with insecurity, or else it wouldn't be insecurity, right? The insecurity is defined by the lack of trust. And so that ultimately is why men today can't date women with kids. Because men are insecure, and women forgot about that. Women have this idea that men are super secure. That men are men. And we're gonna go fuck shit up, and you show me a problem, I'll solve it. That's not the manna today. But for some reason, women think that is the manna today, and it's not. You know, when we don't meet that expectation, women look at us and say, hey, are you supposed to be like some provider? Aren't you supposed to be like some kind of fucking like superhero? Aren't you supposed to be like, aren't you supposed to be like a man? You know what I mean? You for the men out there, they know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. For the women don't even know they do that shit. They really don't. Aren't you supposed to be like, could you fucking imagine if I, as a man, looked at a woman in 2017 and said, aren't you supposed to be like, I wouldn't even get through the fucking sentence. And that one would be like, I'm supposed to be like what, motherfucker? But we, men, as men, we deal with that shit every single day. Women looking at us, aren't you supposed to be like, but if I looked at a woman and was like, aren't you supposed to be like, holy shit, hold the fucking, it's like somebody just screamed nigger at fucking, at a fucking, I don't know, where there's a bunch of black people, and now there's a bunch of black people looking at me. That's like, what aren't you supposed to be like as a man saying that to a woman? Holy fucking shit, hold the whole show, stop the show, somebody stop the show, pause the movie, turn down the music. Did this motherfucker just say, aren't you supposed to be like, after I've said that to him all fucking day, he has the decency, not even the decency, why am I saying the decency? He has the balls to turn around and say that to me one time after I've said that to him all day. Aren't you supposed to be like, yeah. Men are insecure today. That's why we can't date women with kids. Because we're all insecure. We can't trust you enough with another man. We, for the most part, can't trust a woman giving priority to another man in our relationships. We can't do that. We're not secure enough for that shit. And women need to understand that. Because women have this idea that men are a whole lot more secure than they actually are. Even if us men act like we are secure, we're not. And we still fight. Think about that for a minute. Men are so insecure today that we still fight. There's still men that still fight. Let's say, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? Let's fucking duke it out. You know, see who the real man is. Fighting proves nothing. Fighting doesn't prove a thing. Well, I shouldn't say fighting doesn't prove a thing. Fighting does prove something, but it's not anything good. It's not anything that we don't already know for the most part. You know, fighting is the be-all, end-all. And as long as there's fighting, there's going to be insecurity because we can't... We're insecure about being challenged. The second someone challenges us, we gotta rise to the occasion, right? Because we're men, right? That idea is fucking ridiculous. And I wish as men we could push that same thing onto women and say, aren't you supposed to be like, you know, and she like walks out in like a dress that's a little bit too loose and like she's wearing, you know, dirty sandals, and you just look at her like, aren't you supposed to be like good looking? Holy fucking shit. That would be fucking, you know, aren't you supposed to be like a woman? Holy fucking shit, that whole thing. And women that are listening to this are gonna agree with me and say, yeah, why can't men say that? Until the second some fucking guy says that to them, and then they're gonna fall in line and they're gonna be like, what the fuck did you just say? Women, you gotta understand that you're too agreeable with yourselves. You're too agreeable amongst other women. Women are way too insecure around other women. And that's another reason why we as men can't date women with kids, is their friends. Or women without kids, just their friends. You have to understand, women are super insecure around other women. When you show two women together, there's a competition going on. That's like two men just stepped in the ring. Literally. These bitches could go at it over just a look. Literally. That's how insecure women are. Women are more insecure than men. But that doesn't mean that we give precedence to the woman's insecurity. Because women, if your insecurity is taking precedence over ours, that shit ain't gonna fly. Okay? We have to balance our insecurities. And that's a very strange concept to even talk about. We have to balance our insecurities. Because when we think of our relationship, we think of two people without insecurities. That's just what we think of immediately. We need to erase that thought from our heads. Because you know what? Having insecurity is okay. How do I know that? Because every single fucking person on this planet has them. So how can it not be okay? How can it not be okay, and yet every single fucking person on the planet has insecurity? You know, we say to people, don't be insecure. Oh, you're just insecure. We know that person is just insecure because we're just as insecure as they are. You know, when you talk to a short person about their height, holy fuck. It's called little man syndrome. When a guy who's little feels like he needs to constantly prove himself. Right. A relationship is a balance of insecurities. That's what it is. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think a relationship is just love. It's just love. It ain't. A relationship is not just fucking love. It's so much more than that. But we've had this idea drilled into our fucking heads that a relationship is just love. That all we need to find is just love. We need to understand that everyone has insecurities. And we can blame ourselves for giving into those insecurities, but we can't put blame for having them. We just need to work through them. Right? Right. Good talk. Men, don't date women with kids because you're probably an insecure man. And you're going to push that insecurity onto her, and that's not fair. And to women, if you're fucking your baby's daddy, don't be dating anyone. You understand? There's so many women that do that, and do not even fucking send me an email. Don't you fucking dare send me an email saying there ain't. Don't you fucking even fucking think about it. Don't even think about it. I know you're thinking about it, you stupid cunt. You're thinking about fucking sending me an email saying there's not that many women that are fucking that are dating somebody and still fucking their baby daddy. Shut the fuck up. There is. Trust me. I've spoke to him. I've talked to him. I've seen it with my own two fucking eyes. This shit is not a coincidence. Me meeting that many women and that many women failing that test with flying colors, that shit is not a coincidence. When I say to you, I met 10 women and 10 out of 10 failed that fucking test, You fucking can't tell me that shit. You can't. So don't even. Don't fucking even. If you're planning on sending an email, just scrap it. Just scrap it. Because you probably won't even get a response. I probably won't even read that shit. I'll read 3 sentences into that shit and be like, motherfuck this shit. Anyways, we all have insecurities. That's the wisdom for today. We all got insecurities. We're all just trying to deal with them. So give us some space. Give us some answers. Let us see some answers. Let us see you in action. Let us, instead of trying to kill our insecurity, let us deal with our insecurity. And if we can't deal with our insecurity, then kick us to the fucking curb and let somebody else. Or let ourselves. Alright? I love all you women who listen to this. I love all you. Quit being whores. I love all you men that listen to this, but quit being fucking dipshits. Quit being insecure dipshits. Quit being insecure. Quit being insecure. I know it's you're carrying it from your childhood, but quit it. It doesn't work like that. Anyways, I love all of you. You can find me on Twitter at Jason Van Jason, Amazon Author Central, Jason Van Jason. If you find someone else whose name is Jason Van and it's not Jason as the last name, you need to tell that motherfucker that he's a piece of shit human being and needs to die. Even if you have kids, you definitely need to die. Get rid of that name, Jason Van, because it's mine. And even if you had it before me, bitch, I'm taking it. I'm taking it because I'm insecure, alright? I'm an insecure person, and I'm the only person that can have a Jason Van name. And my insecurity is driving me to be that way, and I'm just trying to deal with it, alright? I'm just trying to deal with my insecurities one day at a time, motherfuckers, and so are you. And deal with those insecurities. Don't let them run shit. I love you all. May God touch your life. May the devil touch your life. And may you find a place in between where you can grow. And if you can't, then die. If you ain't growing, you're dying. Alright? I love you all. Take care. Best of luck with everything you're doing.